Hello, everybody, audience that's listening and audience that's viewing. Welcome again to the Lens on Real Estate studio. We've been down a few weeks, but we're still trying to get it together and get some more consistency with our programming. We have a great guest lined up for you today. Just to talk about some of our past guests. We pretty much, this will be our sixth episode, I believe it is, fifth or sixth. And on our first episode, we were honored to sit down and have an interview with Sabria Scott, owner operator of Scott Realty Professionals here in Savannah. And since that time, Sabria has been recognized amongst her peers in the Savannah Multi-List group. She's been recognized as the Realtor of the Year. So we are so happy about that and so glad to have been one of the ones to interview Sabria before she was recognized for that award. So kudos to her. Our next interview was with Archie Emerson. Archie is the president of the Empire Board of Realtors. Realtors is the association that mainly was created for African Americans in the real estate industry. That was created at a time when there was not a lot of inclusion of African Americans in the programming as it is today, the National Association of Realtors as it is today. So we had Archie Emerson, the current president of the Empire Board, which is in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a premier organization of the Realtors Association, a group that we plan to hopefully get a chapter back up and running in Savannah. The next guest we had was Terry Talbot. Terry Talbot is the director of the Economic Opportunity Authority, Chatham County, and Terry was here to talk about the organization and particularly the job fair, or at least housing fair, that we had prepared, or they had prepared to have, which is an annual event. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, that event was canceled for this year, and maybe later on this year. We haven't gotten any new information yet, but that big event that the EOA usually has was canceled for the month of April. And then we had on our show, wow, my memory kind of slips me right now, but today our guest is going to be Lavonnia Cummings Rue. Before we bring Lavonnia into the studio, though, Lavonnia is a home inspector. She is the owner of what is known as First Response Home Inspections. And we're going to be talking to Lavonnia shortly. So engineer, why don't you bring Lavonnia on in, and so we can further introduce her to the viewing and listening audience. And by the way, audience, I'm Diann Scott, and I am the host of Lens on Real Estate. I'm an associate broker at Scott Realty Professionals. So I am a realtor, a member of the National Association of Realtors. Don't profess to be an expert in real estate, but I do profess to be someone that really, really enjoys the world of real estate. So any opportunity I have to learn what's going on in it, I want to do it, and certainly want to share it here on the Our Black Media Network. And one of the reasons why we started this is because we want to make sure our community is kept abreast of what's going on in this industry. This is an industry that's probably one of the number one, what we call motivators or motivations for people that want to build generational wealth. It's a great opportunity to do that. So we want to talk about the various areas of real estate and hopefully get our community more engaged in the world of real estate. So again, welcome to our viewing and listening network. And we're going to welcome right now our today's guest. And today's guest is Lavonnia Cummings Rue. Did I pronounce that correctly, Lavonnia, your last name?
Rio.
Lavonnia Cummings Rio. Okay. All right,
We
great.
do.
So thank you, Lavonnia, for agreeing to join me today on Lens on Real Estate, because you're one of the few, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. One of the few in this uh, part of the real estate world that you belong to, and that's that world of home inspections. So we're going to get started
Yes.
right now, and I want you to tell the audience just a little bit about you, not necessarily getting into what you do, but tell the audience a little bit about Lavonnia Cummings Rowe.
Just born and raised in Savannah. A southern, I guess you would say, semi-country girl. Loves to travel. Travel is my passion. That's my thing. That's what I do. An explorer by nature.
And we
Love to
do.
travel.
Yeah, so us that are on Facebook and keeping up with our peers in this industry, yes, she is certainly telling the truth. She's a world traveler. She is a world traveler, loves to travel. And we enjoy watching her and her and her husband. What's your husband's first name, Lavanya?
Santana.
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 Yeah, we enjoy watching you
Yes.
and Santana as you, cruise and travel around the world, showing us some of the interesting sites. I remember the latest one was that I saw was when you guys were, I guess, well, you're sandblasted or what happened? What happened out there on the ocean front?
St. Martin. That's that. Jet blasting is what they call it. Something I
Okay.
had no business doing. It was our cousins. When our cousins do stuff and it ain't meant for us, I should have been on the sideline with us. Shouldn't have been following up our cousins.
Oh wow! Well, you know what? You all were daredevils. I could tell it wouldn't be me. It would not be me.
It shouldn't have been me.
Okay. Well, I do know one thing, and didn't really want to get very personal, but I know in the past couple of years you had a great thing that happened though. You married Santana, but also though you
Mhm.
had some rough spots. One of the
Yes, yes.
rough spots that hey, any of us
I
would
lost my mom.
be
I
rough,
lost
and
my. I
that's what
got
I was going
married
to get
one
to.
day and lost my mom. Yeah, I lost my mom the very next day.
Wow.
That's still been a struggle and a journey within itself. And that was actually a bounce back after fighting for my life from COVID. I found
Right.
myself fighting to live. So I fought to live, celebrated the victory of living with getting married. My mom battled with COVID, ultimately leaving
Mm,
me the very next day. So
wow.
life has definitely had some highs and lows for me, and I'm still adjusting and
Yeah.
just
And my
drawing
question,
strength from God above.
absolutely. That's what I was going to ask you. Where did you get that
Still,
strength?
yeah, God above, still realizing that in my valley, in my darkness, in my desert land, that man, he's all I needed when he was all I had. And
Mm.
even in victories, I give all praises, all glory to God. It's all
Amen to
God.
that.
It's all God.
Amen to that. So we're certainly
Yeah,
glad that you weathered that storm. You weathered the storm, and of course, losing
I
your
am.
mother,
I,
you're
I
still
am.
adjusting. I could certainly understand that. Yeah, because I lost my father in
Yeah.
2019, so I can understand the
Hmm.
aspects of losing a parent. Now,
Yeah.
the big, the big, big burning question. Why and how? Now, what in the world possessed you, Lavanya, to get into this male dominated profession? During my research, I looked and it says as of September 2022, only 14.3% of women are home inspectors, meaning there's 85.7% of them that are men. So give us the take on that. What possessed you to jump in this industry?
It wasn't really anything that I chose, it chose me. When I got into home inspections, it was actually the idea and the concept of doing some research and getting some credentials to help my ex husband start a business. And
Mm-hmm.
when I showed up to school, I was singled out because the owner of the school was preparing the guys, basically telling them we were going to have a female join us, kind of like be on your best behavior. And so when I showed up to class, the way that this older male gentleman responded, like, "Oh, you're a Lavonnia," just the attitude, and him being Caucasian made me feel like you were saying, "Oh, little black girl, sit down." And I'm just not that type of female. You can tell, go sit in a corner. We're not gonna do that to me.
I
And
got
that just birthed a desire in me to basically show him, I'm gonna do this thing, and I just took it over, and I've been just nonstop since.
Wow.
And here I am today,
How
12
many
years later.
how many people were in the class at that time?
I think probably about 13 or 14 people, and I
Yeah,
was the only female.
only female.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
So and now you said what year was that?
That was in 2010 when I went to school, and then
Okay.
the company full blast launched. It was like December, and it full blast launched in 2011.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of your company is First Response Home Inspectors. Now, how did you come about that name, naming it that?
So it's first response home inspections.
Inspection.
From the standpoint that one response is all you're going to need. You know, you won't need multiple people to help you. You just need one response, and we're going to take care of everything.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times, and you would know this being a realtor, you will get an inspector to come out and they'll look at some things and then they have to refer you to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of things can be taken care of under my own company's umbrella. Case
Mm-hmm.
in point, I'm also licensed and certified to do mold testing. So if I was to discover something that was suspicious to mold, I'm licensed and qualified to do that sampling and take it out to a third party lab, whereas
Okay.
some inspectors are not.
Okay.
I am licensed and qualified to do pool inspections. Some home inspectors are not. So I take my education and my credentials to a lot of levels that a lot of home inspectors don't. They just do the basics of home
Yeah,
inspections.
right, right. Now you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
the mold. I do have down here as one of my questions, and I'll just bring it up now in terms of I know with the realtors, we now have to put an exhibit in that deals with radon. It was my
Mm-hmm.
understanding that the radon is mainly in North Georgia because it's a mountainous area, and that mainly is mainly where radon may accumulate. So in this area, what about it? Do you?
Well, your understanding is correct
Mhm.
because it's a lack of a concern here, and there's not a high demand because of where we are on the radon map. That's not a
Mhm.
credentialing that I have because it's not a need.
Yeah.
Um, but it would require a different credentialing, and that is an auxiliary different service that would be required.
Okay, so it's not like, well, you don't check, so you really probably don't have a percentage in terms of what in this area could be. Small,
Correct.
presumably, yeah,
Hmm. It
presumably.
would vary. Correct, because of where we are on the map.
Okay, okay. Now, you were the only woman. I couldn't find any stats. I really didn't have the time to look. But what about the racial breakdown? Do you know about the percentage of terms of Black home inspectors as opposed to any other grouping of home inspectors?
In our area,
Mm-hmm.
as of lately, I think we have now had maybe two other African American males that have joined the industry that I am aware of.
Okay.
So I think as time goes, we are progressing. We are definitely growing.
Okay. Now, another bit of information when I was doing the research. Now, you're a member of the American Society of Home Inspectors. Do I have that right? ASHI. Is that how they pronounce it?
So you have ASHI as well as INTERNACHI. So they are trade organizations. I'm also a member of ICC, which is your International Code Council.
Mm-hmm.
International Code Council is the organization that regulates building codes. That's a different organization from your trade organizations. If you
Okay.
notice on your real estate contracts, when you're writing contracts, they
Mm-hmm.
require you to have a combination inspector, which means you're needing an inspector who is adverse on building codes as well as a trade organization so
Mm-hmm.
that they are familiar with updates as far as continuing education is concerned.
Okay. So now, speaking of that, it's on the form, the GAR, Georgia Association of Realtors form that the realtors use
Mm-hmm.
when dealing with contracts. But now the state of Georgia does not
Mm-hmm.
require home inspectors to be licensed. So
Correct.
how do they, are these the organizations, how do they kind of police or deal with any unscrupulous behaviors amongst the inspectors out there?
They really don't. In the state of Georgia, it is up to that buyer to protect themselves to make sure that they use an inspector that is licensed, insured, and bonded. Because an inspector can, quote unquote, be an inspector in the state of Georgia at will because they're not regulated by the state. They're not required to be licensed to be an inspector in the state of Georgia.
Right, right. Yeah, and when I was looking, it said that they can, as long as they provide the scope of the work they're doing, they go out and do the
Mm-hmm.
visual, whatever they're going to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then prepare
Mm-hmm.
the report. Now, it did say
A
that Georgia
report. Mm-hmm.
has some sort of act that they enacted back in 1960s, I think it was. But other than
Mm-hmm.
that, other states do. Some states do, not all, but there are some states out there that require their home inspectors to have licensing. And I was kind of curious about that, but it is what it
Yeah,
is.
just like some states actually mandate home inspections, no
Mm-hmm.
different than they mandate appraisals. But Georgia is not one. You can purchase at will in Georgia without having a home inspection. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very lenient when it comes to the state of
Yeah.
Georgia.
And although we don't recommend not having a home inspection,
Very
and
much
we'll talk
so.
about that
Mm-hmm.
later on because I want to ask you about that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Going back to ASHI, um, they had a conference back at the beginning of the year, and they called it the Inspector World.
Inspection world.
World.
They do it
Have
every
you
year.
attended those conferences?
I have. I went
Okay.
last year.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
I noticed on this year's conference, they had a whole lot of speakers, probably about 27 speakers, and only one was female.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess,
And that's groundbreaking. Mm-hmm.
okay. And so, I guess they do have a little bit of work to do in terms of
Well, and
getting
that's groundbreaking because I can remember for years they didn't even have one female. So we're growing. We're making progress.
making progress. Okay. And the speaker that they did have was ICC. You just mentioned that you're a member of that. What is it? The
Mm-hmm.
ICC Code Council. Is that International Code Council? Yeah. At this one,
Yes.
the director of some type of program with that ICC, was the one female speaker that they had. I see there. But the good thing, Ashley has a female president for 2023. So I thought, okay, well, on one end, but on the other end, that looks good. You got a female president.
Yeah.
You know anything about her from before she became the president of the organization?
I don't.
Okay,
No.
all right. But yeah, I see where she's the 2023 president of ASHI. Now, before we move on, difference between home inspectors and the appraiser. Do they some people sometimes get it confused? Thinking
A lot of people get it confused.
yeah.
The appraiser simply looks at and establish the value of the home. The home inspector looks for defects. The biggest difference is also that the appraiser represents the lending institution to make sure that you're not borrowing money for a house where the value is not there. And the appraiser represents you to make you aware of the condition of the house. We have two different work scopes entirely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I would imagine that does happen a lot of times. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you started First Responder, you said that started in 2011. It's been going on, and you indicate that you've done over 8,000 home inspections. That's a lot of home inspections. A
Yeah.
lot of home
Yes.
inspections. Uh, on the average, how many do you do, say, per week?
Um, I think if you do anywhere from 4 to 5 a day,
Mm-hmm.
you could do anywhere 525. If I work Saturdays, which some
Yeah.
Saturdays I do, you could do 25, 30 a week.
Okay. And what's your geographical range, Lavonnia? How far do you go out in this metro
60
Savannah?
miles.
60 miles.
I do a
Okay.
60-mile radius.
Okay. All right. Now, does the pricing vary? Do you vary among inspectors, or do you each particular inspector determines what they want to price for an inspection? And of course,
It's pretty much industry standard, but
mhm,
it varies based upon the house. So it's
yeah.
the square footage and the foundation of the house and the age of the house are the three determining factors that determines the price of the house.
Okay. Okay. Now, the type of you do residential and commercial, right?
I do.
Okay, so with your residentials, I noticed that some inspectors were listing, the type of residentials, whether it's the multi-unit, single unit, whether it was high-end real estate, log cabin, da 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 da. Or is there any limits, or you have a specifics that you want to work with or like to work with in particular, or it varies? It just doesn't matter.
Uh, how do you mean any limits? I'm not
In
following the
terms
question.
of like I saw when doing the research, I just looked at a few other inspectors and some of their profiles, and some of them listed that I do high-end real estate, I do estates, I do multifamily, I do single family, I do log structures, that sort of thing.
Well,
So,
me personally, I have no preference. I do them all. I
mhm,
don't have a
okay,
preference. Maybe
okay.
I guess maybe some inspectors have a preference, maybe,
Mhm.
but I have no preference.
Okay, so you pretty much you get the job, you go and do the inspection. Okay. I
It's
think
just
it's
that simple
about
for me.
6:24. Is it time for our commercial yet, engineer? Because we do break for commercial. So is it time yet, engineer? Okay, we're back. Kind of sorry for that abruptness right there, Lavanya, but we got to do a 20 commercial at 20-minute intervals, so there will be another
Okay.
at some point.
Okay.
So we're going to move on. What does it take, type of equipment? Because I know in your bio you stated that you are one of a few inspectors, home inspectors, that are currently using what they call infrared/drone technology,
Infrared.
infrared. So talk about that
Mhm.
in term, not just that, but any other equipment that a home
So
inspector use.
infrared. So infrared is the type of
Uh-oh.
to be more invasive. As you know, the work scope.
Lavanya, can you say that again? Because you zoned out a minute, so we didn't
Okay,
hear
I'm
you. So
sorry.
say that again. Okay.
Infrared allows you to be a little bit more invasive. I should say non-invasive without being. I'm sorry, being invasive without being non-invasive, because the work scope, you are not allowed to be invasive, meaning at the point in which you're doing a home inspection, it is not the property of the buyer. You are providing a service at the courtesy of the seller.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't tear up a wall to see what's going on. That infrared tool allows you to see potential leaks within the wall. It allows you to see overheating electrical wires. So it's allowing you to see things that you would not see with the natural eye, but it's allowing you to be within your work scope of providing a visual inspection.
Okay. And
So that tool has a lot of benefits, to being able to perform an advanced thorough inspection.
so it's not just for drone usage, it can be on the
Well,
ground as
well,
well.
that's two different things.
Okay.
So infrared is one tool, and a drone is a totally separate, different tool.
Okay.
We're talking about two different tools.
Okay. All right. So let's talk then about the drone.
So the drone is a tool that you would fly to see the pictures of the roof that you cannot see from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was a picture of the roof, it was non-walkable, and it was non-visual from the ground, then you could fly the drone to be able to see those pictures of the roof, to be able to get a closer visual aspect of that roof.
Okay. Now, what do you find uh, the positives about the drone usage? Because, and the reason I ask is because I recall some time ago there was I don't know, I think it was may have been an inspector. I don't know whether it was a realtor or an inspector, but they were just talking about their more um, they're more lenient towards use, just literally going up, physically going up on a roof to see what's going on rather than using the drone. What do you find the benefits of the drone? Because I can understand it got to be a security, much less risk there too. But
Well,
is
less risk, less safety. You're more likely not to damage a person's property, obviously, when using a drone as opposed to going up on the roof.
Mhm.
Um, Within the work scope, a lot of defects can actually be seen from the ground. As long as we see anything that warrants writing up for the professional roofer, we've done our work scope to be able to turn it over for the roofer to actually go in. As a home inspector, we're not licensed in all of the aspects. Actually, we're not licensed in any aspects. We're not licensed electricians, nor plumbers, nor roofers, but
Mhm.
we are generalists in every system. So we're there to see if there's any reason to further refer any defect over to the licensed specialist for that system.
Okay. Any other equipment, anything that, because technology changes, so certainly you've incorporated the infrared and the drone usage. Any equipment that you kind of started out with and it has to stay, or any equipment that you utilize that is unique to
Yeah, we use water pressure gauges to make sure the pressure is correct throughout the house. We use electrical testers to make sure electrical wiring is correct. We use temperature gauges to make sure that the temperature is correct and consistent throughout the house. So there's a numerous tools that we use in order to conduct the inspection. It's just not also what we visually see with our eyes,
yeah.
knowing that things are installed correctly, but you have to test the systems and components to make sure that they are installed correctly and generating correctly. We have to check the air registers to make sure that you're getting the correct supply in return. That is the way that
Mhm.
we know that the heating and cooling system is functioning properly, not just that it's quote unquote blowing heating and cooling. So
Okay.
there are numerous tools that is unique to what we do.
And I know you check the age of HVACs, the age of water
Yes,
heaters, and I
yes.
try to do that. I'm looking at a lot of times I go, where's that sticker at? I can never find it. So can never find it. So hey, I let the people who's supposed to do it or trained to do it, Diann. So um, talk about the benefits of the home inspection, because of course in real estate, as a realtor with client looking for a property, whether it's new, whether it's resale, uh, whatever, we're going to recommend that they get a home inspection. I know today's market, well, it's calming down a little bit, but a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were just in the throes of this hot sellers market, and people were just giving up all buyers were just not caring about anything, and that included inspections. But tell us about the benefits of, getting an inspection on a home, whether it's new or whether it's brand new, spanking new, built from the ground, or it's been a home that's been lived in by prior occupants.
You want to make an informed, sound decision. You want to know what you're purchasing. Regardless, like you said, if it's brand new or if it's a resale, even if you intend to occupy it short term or long term, because that person that may come after you may get it inspected and repairs may need to be made. So even if you're not going to make them today, you need to know what repairs you're going to need to make tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The investment that you make on a home inspection today can save you tons of money tomorrow. So it's always a great tool. And a lot of times what people have to realize too, you can be in a situation where you forego getting your home inspected, and then you write your homeowner's insurance, and then the homeowner sends the person by to come out to do an exterior, and then they see something from the outside that they don't like, and then they call for a repair to be made that would have been caught on your home inspection, and now you're spending some out-of-pocket money to get some repairs made, or your home insurance would be canceled, and this could have been something taken care of with, if you had that home inspected as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, we had a question pop through from Tiffany, and Tiffany wanted to know, should a tenant get an inspection done if they're renting or long-term renting?
So as the tenant of a property, you don't have the right to have the home inspected.
Mm-hmm.
What you do have the right to do is to have your walkthrough done with the property manager of the property to make sure that the condition of the house, as far as the damages, have been notated so that you are not liable for anything that you did not destroy, and to make sure that everything is in working order when you took possession, and make notations of anything that is not in working order so that you can complete a work order to have anything that's not working taken care of.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully that answered your question, Tiffany. Good information from Lavonnia too. Lavonnia, the home inspector. Now, we talked about the benefits of the buyer. Do you often get sellers that want to do an home inspection before they list their property?
No, not many sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess would be for multiple reasons. One, again, Georgia is an at-will state, so the buyer can choose to exercise their right to have it inspected, or they can forego it. And if they choose not to have it inspected, then why should the seller care?
Yeah.
And then also the seller has to fill out a disclosure. So if they don't know, they don't have to disclose. So why should they spend money to be informed for something that they now have to disclose?
Right. Right. Okay. That certainly makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just when you inspect, because you definitely don't do the basic inspection. So when you go in to inspect a property, say a single family residential property, and this property might be 10 years old now. Okay, what's your mode of operation when you're going to inspect that? What do you do?
The same thing in every house, regardless of the age.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we don't do is look at anything cosmetic.
Okay, cosmetic being, for example,
the condition of the floors or the walls, or any
okay,
cosmetic imperfection within any house is not a
okay,
concern to me.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So mainly then, because I kind of say to look at the guts of the house, the plumbing and the HVAC, and
So we're going to look at everything from
yeah,
doors, windows, even the
yeah.
ceilings, to make sure that they're not damaged. But we're
Mm-hmm.
not looking at the ceilings, looking at cosmetic imperfections of the ceilings.
Okay,
So we're not looking for any cosmetic damages, but we're
okay,
looking for true damages.
okay. Now, a buyer calls you in to want to say, okay, we want to have an inspection done.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that the buyer should not be looking for you to do when it comes to an inspection?
They
Oh
should
my,
not be looking for me to address anything that's cosmetic.
anything
If it's
cosmetic. That's the most
yeah,
prevalent.
that's and a lot of times buyers are concerned with cosmetics,
Hmm.
and they don't understand that that's not my work scope. A lot of times buyers don't understand that the cosmetic state of the house was already considered when the house was priced and placed on the market. And if there
Hmm.
are any cosmetic concessions, then that would have been listed when the house was placed on the market in the notes.
Okay. Okay. Now, first response. You have any employees? Is it just you, Lavonnia?
No,
Or
I do have an assistant.
okay, cool. And let me ask you this: during the COVID epidemic, everybody was impacted. So tell me about how that impacted the home inspector and you in particular, and how did you adjust during that time?
Lived off coffee and
Mm-hmm.
naps. The market
Mm.
went crazy. Due diligence got tighter, which means our schedule got busier because housing was in a demand. And we had very limited time to get everybody in and get inspections done so everyone could make a sound decision because there wasn't a lot of lenience when it came to due diligence. And
Yeah.
of course, we work on a due diligence calendar. So it was really tight. It was really tough.
Mm.
So it was a lot of field work with limited hours. And what people don't understand is when you're in the field, every inspection is followed by a report and it's on a 24-hour clock. So we had to
Okay.
get those reports out so that you, as realtors, could get the tools you need to make those sound decisions.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier, then having been impacted yourself with COVID, then you were pretty much down and not.
I got COVID at towards the end, and I actually got COVID from a home inspection.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow. Uh,
from a client that was home that provided access, waiting on resort results and didn't say anything. And when you call back to say you tested positive, yeah,
oh wow. Mm, mm,
yeah,
mm, mm. Well, talk about you never know. We got to kind of deal with the unexpected sometimes. And
yeah.
speaking of that, what has
No,
occurred?
ma'am, Tiffany. I saw Tiffany question pop
Oh,
up. Let me answer Tiffany's.
okay.
Termite damage is not cosmetic. No, no, ma'am.
Not at all.
Not at all.
What has occurred in the industry since you've got into it? What anything unexpected occurred that you kind of I won't ever forget this?
COVID.
Mm,
The way that I think we responded to COVID. I think even in our industry, I think the way that we responded and handled COVID, especially when it came to like the home inspection, I think it could have been handled a little bit differently.
hmm.
We wore our PPE gear, but then we still had clients felt the need to want to be present, and it was hard to practice social distance, do your job, and then be home, and it was just a lot went on with that.
Yeah,
I think the whole COVID thing, I'll never forget that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a little bit about I just when Tiffany asked the question about the termite,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely not cosmetic. It made me kind of go back down a note I wrote about septic and wells.
Mm-hmm.
Do you inspect
I do.
or okay? Is that in addition to what a county or municipality might be required to do, or what, or it's just if they have that, that's just a part of the inspection?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have to look at what a county or municipality have said if they have done that? In
No, I
okay,
don't.
all
Mm-mm.
right. So you just inspected, and in terms of what are you looking for when you do the cell
We're
in the wells?
both. for both, we're looking to make sure that they function properly.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to make sure that the well has the proper pressure and that the supply and return is correct. We're making sure that it's not leaking or seeping in any way, form, or function. We're making sure that the septic tank is pumping and that all of the plumbing system throughout the house is pumping, that it's no signs of backage or backflow, that the grounds is firm as it should be, and that there's no signs of leakage or failure. We also go back to seller's disclosure if it's not already disclosed. We recommend getting the date of the last pumping so that we can make the recommendations as far as the internal and pumping of the septic tank.
Okay.
And then we also check the septic alarm if that septic system has an alarm for it.
Oh, wow. I didn't really know about that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Alarms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People tamper with those? Reason they need
It's possible.
Okay. I think it's time for our final commercial break. So we'll do that and come back and begin to wrap up our great conversation with Lavonnia Cummings Rowe, First Response Home Inspections.
Okay.
What happened? Are we back, engineer? Because that was really quick. Okay, we'll just move on, looks like. Does that include gutter, is Tiffany Jefferson's question. Tiffany, are you asking
Yes.
gutter cosmetic? Okay, we're back. We had a question from Tiffany, another question from Tiffany just before we left, and she was asking, did that include gutters? I would imagine it was a follow-up question from the question on cosmetic, whether termite inspection was cosmetic.
Is gutters cosmetic?
Tiffany, if you can you kind of repeat that question? What you said, what about gutters? What did you want to know about gutters? And while we're waiting on Tiffany to repeat that question, Lavonnia, what has been your largest and most difficult inspection job? Any one in particular that you recall?
Sabria's first office.
Sabria Scott of Scott Realty Professionals' first office, which was located where?
Montgomery Crossroad.
Okay. Well, then,
not the largest, but that was one for the record book.
Okay. All right. One for the record books, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. You care to share?
It just was so many contractors, so it was just so much to keep up with, because it was more than just an inspection. It was more like a phase inspection. So it was inspections after every phase, because it was a renovation. It wasn't just here's an inspection and here's what's wrong. It was, okay, this person is done, check this. But it was a whole project, so it was project management. So
Okay.
it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of people to check behind, and oh, they did this wrong, so we got to get this right and then come back. It was just very involved.
Okay. So, and speaking of rechecks, like with new construction, do you often, because a lot of times the houses are already up, and in quite a few subdivisions, they're already up, but do you get in on the ground floor where you come in and inspect foundation or pre putting up walls, that sort of thing, the various
So
phases?
when it comes to new construction,
Hmm.
you can do a phase, but typically the builder will only do that if you are doing a custom built home.
Oh.
A lot of these new construction homes are spec built homes where you're buying a home where the builder has a plan, you know, and you're coming in just picking out your cabinets. Sometimes if they allow you to even do that, you
Hmm.
know, those they don't allow you to hold up their project with phase inspections. It's typically only the custom built homes that they allow you to do phase inspections.
Okay, okay. So again, then there's really no difference with the new construction property as opposed to an older home because the myth is yeah, it's new, so what can be go wrong? But you can tell them that could be a
Oh,
whole
that definitely. You and I have had plenty new
yeah,
constructions together with the
yeah,
list. So you personally know that's not true.
yeah, right, right. So it's no difference. That's why we recommend getting the
Yeah,
home
definitely,
inspected without
definitely.
question. Um, in your business, is there a lot of overhead? Because let's talk about somebody that may want to get into this field. Now, other than home inspect, before we get into the overhead thing, but other than becoming a home inspector, are there any other career opportunities? Because when I got into real estate, yeah, I got in real estate agent. And by virtue of joining the National Association of Realtors, I'm also called a realtor. But I learned through just being in the industry, there are a myriad of opportunities in a direction other than being a real estate agent. So, have you found that to be the case in the home inspection side of it?
Um, I think the parallel opportunity to becoming a home inspector is becoming a home appraiser, but
Mm,
it's a little bit more difficult to become a home appraiser. You have to have someone who's willing to allow you to shadow them to get your intern hours, and it's a little difficult to come by.
oh, okay, okay, all right. Have you encountered anyone in terms of mentorship then?
No.
Curious about your field. Nothing yet. Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Now, I do know your assistant, and they've been hanging in there for a while. So I would say that's just, I admire that. That is just wonderful that you have your youngster working with you in terms of
Mm-hmm.
learning this field. And
Mm-hmm.
I can say he's just always so mannerable, and he knows what I've seen some of his growth, and he knows seems to know what he's doing. So that's great. That is great,
Thank you.
and that's what we want to do. We want to bring our people along, and
Mm-hmm.
just seeing you. Hopefully, a young female, not young, just any female, rather, just looking at you and is inspired by what you're doing and want to take that leap forward. And
Mm-hmm.
me, in terms of being the non-traditionalist, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there are a few of women out there that just jump into a whole other playbook other than what
Mm-hmm.
people perceive we're supposed to be doing. And you
Mm-hmm.
did that and doing
Mm-hmm.
it quite well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
now, Savannah, Chatham County, uh, Effingham County, Bryan County. You said earlier 60-mile radius. So all of those counties kind of are inclusive in that grouping, right?
Yeah, Liberty County.
Oh, Liberty County as well. That's
I
right.
was
Yeah.
in Jessup. I was in Jessup today.
Hmm.
Jekyll
Okay.
Island. I go Brunswick. I go Long County.
Oh,
Yeah. I do all those.
Wow, you do a lot of moving around, a lot of moving
Hmm.
around.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, I know you work with Scott Realty Professionals a lot when Sabria is out there, and because she does a lot of support among in the community, a lot of you know organizations that she provides support to, and I often see you at those events as well. Do you have a one that tugs at your heart that you say, okay, this is my I'm going to support this group here. This is my group. I want to support it often and however I can. You have one in particular?
Um, I believe it or not, I support a lot of groups. I
Mm-hmm.
just try to. I'm not a forerunner. If that makes any sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, I am a to myself type of person. Sabria just doesn't allow anybody to just take a back seat. She always want to push somebody in the limelight. She just not the type of person that just let a person stay in the background. She's the only person I know put somebody in the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why people see me in the limelight with her is because of her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You take on those opportunities, and sometimes those opportunities they come and then some don't come again. So hey, seize them when you can. So that's a great thing and a testament to Sabria too, pushing people forward.
Yeah.
Because she's a little light in and of herself. So that's a good
Hmm.
testament to her as well.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, what do you see as the future for first responders home inspections? What do you
Um,
envision for your future?
I see 5 more years in the industry. I'm retiring at 50.
Mm, okay.
I see.
That's
I see 5 more years. That's what I see.
5 more years. Wow.
5 more years. I'm on the countdown.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And then we'll be turning it over to the assistant then.
You got it.
First responders will still be rolling. First responders still be going. Well, you know what? I am so glad that you said, okay, to jump in on here with me on Lens on Real Estate. And hopefully it gives others out there viewing and watching some courage and wanting to, come on and strut their thing and talk about what they do, because that's what we want to do. We just want to enlighten our community. As I was saying to you, the CEO of Our Black Media, the whole goal is to engage our community, enlighten our community on what we're doing in a variety of ways. And real estate is one of the main ways that we're involved in, and we want our people to know that we're not just on the sidelines.
Hmm.
We are really truly out there, and there are some professionals out there that can do whatever they
Hmm.
need done in the professional manner. And you certainly are one of those out there, Lavonnia,
Well,
as
thank you.
owner and president of First Responders Home Inspections. And so we thank you very much. And hopefully our viewers will reach out to you when they have the need for a home inspection, whether it be residential or commercial. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Always look forward to being of assistance in any capacity that I can.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
All right. So, engineer, we're going to take